Hey guys, I'm Cheyenne and this is Cheyenne. Today's podcast is actually a promise from my Righteous and Ratchet review, in which I said that I would be comparing a few podcasts of other All Deaf Digital members. This is the All Deaf Digital Showdown of the best podcasts. Our contenders are The New Normal, Here's the Thing, On Deez Hoes, Damn Internet You Scary, and I decided to add in Zooming with the Homies because I like this show. Sometimes. Moving on to criteria. Now, I am, of course, heavily biased. As a YouTuber, I will be sharing my opinions on these podcasts. So the categories are consistency, humor, chemistry between hosts, relatability, which is probably the most biased category, and also popularity, which is probably the least biased category, as I'm just going off of YouTube optics. And I feel like I'm not the only person watching all the content produced by this group of people. I think this is kind of like a phenomenon that's going on, where especially because Kevin is like making his own production company and they're making an app, and I just really feel like this is important, even though I'm being silly. Now back to On Deez Hoes, On Deez Hoes, On Deez Hoes, On Deez Hoes, On Deez Hoes. I'm gonna start with On Deez Hoes because they're my personal favorite podcasts. I don't know if it's just because I am craving Black women opinions, or because they're just genuinely funny, but it has Kamira and Precious as co-hosts, and then every week they have a special guest. Some guests are better than others, but I do like how each guest brings their own little thing out of each co-host. Bottom line is, On Deez Hoes is like really funny. They have segments, they talk at the table, they're basically talking about like what's going on in the world, relationship advice, just things that happen throughout the day, or like really celebrity news. Anything can come up on Deez Hoes. On a consistency level, because of the variance in the guests, I would rate them a 6 out of 10. But the humor is a 10 out of 10. Even when Kamira's not feeling something, Precious, her facial expressions give me life. Chemistry, sometimes I feel like one or the other has said something that the other doesn't like, but they're able to get past it or just talk about boobs, which is relatable. Now, that wasn't what we're grading right now. We're grading chemistry. And so chemistry, they're pretty good. I think they're friends in real life, so I'm gonna go with 8 out of 10. Now back to relatability. I relate a lot to these hoes. It's a 10 out of 10. Final category, popularity. On Deez Hoes is not. So the last one's popularity. Unfortunately, On Deez Hoes isn't the most popular podcast, even though it premieres directly on the All Deaf Digital podcast, which is actually why I included it in this ranking, because even though it's none of the OG members, technically, I don't know if Precious is considered OG or not, I am including it because it's a podcast I watch directly from the ADD channel. So yeah, popularity, they rank a 5 out of 10, which makes their overall rank a 7.8 out of 10. On Deez Hoes, starting the game off at a 7.8 out of 10. So one of the podcasts I actually talked about in my last video was Here's the Thing. So we're gonna go ahead and rank them next. Of course, Here's the Thing is the show between Angel and Kevonstage. They cover basically pop culture, anything that happened in the news the past week, and a few ideas here and there. The only things I don't like is when they get carried away singing, but that's probably a personal preference because I, once again, cannot relate to some of the old music. Not to say that they're old, but let's get into those numbers. On a consistency level, Here's the Thing is almost always on point since July. So that's a 9 out of 10. Humor, some of the jokes land, but they're always funny. So I'm gonna say an 8 out of 10, just because there's not necessarily always jokes and hits, but the way they say things is very funny. Both Angel and Kevin have funny like mannerisms. Chemistry, 10 out of 10. I have not seen a podcast go so well so quickly. It usually takes about 1 to 5 episodes for them to find their groove, to not talk over each other, to, volley back and forth, have a bit of banter. And they really did it without awkward silences. They even have chemistry with the camera guys, so should be 11 out of 10, but we're not going into improper fractions. On the relatability aspect, even though I did just clown them for being older, I do think it's a 9 out of 10. They talk about weight loss, they talk about being Black, they talk about growing up in a church, and those are all things that I have experienced. So from what I've seen of Here's the Thing, they seem very relatable. If I ever had a Maserati, then it would probably be a 10 out of 10. Popularity, they are the most popular podcast of the list. So it's a 10 out of 10, baby. All in all, Here's the Thing ranks a 9.2 out of 10. Moving on, we have a podcast that I actually haven't listened to in a few months due to circumstances. It's Damn Internet, You're Scary. If you don't know, this podcast has Tahir Moore and Patrick Cloud, and they basically review things that were on the internet that were scary, interesting, funny, all of the above, doesn't really matter. And I haven't personally listened to their podcast in a couple of months due to circumstances of women bashing. I just feel like overall, the two of them don't come for men as fast and as viciously as they come for women, especially Black women. But yeah, back to the ratings. On a consistent level, they do rank a 9 out of 10 because, they're usually the same every week. On a humor basis, I say it's a 7 out of 10. It's more based on how many of the comments they say during the podcast that are funny and how funny the videos are than how funny those two are individually, because they're not just cracking jokes left and right, or at least not good jokes left and right. On a chemistry basis, I do rate them a 10 out of 10. You cannot find two guys that can just riff and have different jokes between each other so easily, but that's also probably because they've been doing this for over a year now. On a relatability front, I rate them a 6 out of 10 because I can relate to some degree, but they go into a culture that is a bit more mean-spirited than I'm used to, so I can't say that I relate full-heartedly. On the last scale of popularity, they do rank better than On These Hosts at a 7 out of 10. So I wasn't sure if I wanted to include Zooming with the Homies, but I did want 5 podcasts to compare, and I do watch Zooming with the Homies the morning after. So yeah, it's here. On a consistency basis, it's a 5. It's very average. Some days are really good. You have Jackie Fabulous, you have CP, you have BT, you have Ty Davis. It's if any of those are on, I'm probably in for a good time. But there's some people that are just a bit weird, don't know how to use Zoom, don't have the right camera, don't have the right microphone, don't know how to joke around with new people they just met, don't know how to let things go, don't know how to stop looking at the comments. It's just a lot that goes into consistency that Zooming with the Homies just doesn't have yet. So that's a 4 out of 10. On the humor, like I said before, it kind of depends on who's there, but I rate it a 7 out of 10 overall because when it's fun, it's goddamn hilarious. The chemistry, I rate the chemistry an 8 out of 10 just because obviously it's Tahir's friends. So there's a bit more chemistry than the average new viewer. If you threw 5 people into a Zoom chat, you're probably gonna have a lot of dead air, but that doesn't really happen. On a relatability standpoint, because they talk about their past and their histories as comedians and dating and spending too much on shoes, I do rate that a 9 out of 10 because we all go through spending too much money. Popularity is a bit hard to rank because they are a live Zoom show. And so popularity wise, for Zoom shows, for live streams, they're at the top. But as for like a regular video, not really. So I just did a 7 out of 10 for funsies. Also, one day I would like to be on Zooming with the homies, even though that probably will not happen because if you make content about the people, then they will not want to work with you. Pro tip. Overall, Zooming with the homies has a 7 out of 10 ranking. So the last podcast I'm going to review is The New Normal with Doboy, Yonci, and Triune. I'm honestly like, the ranking's a little outdated because I did it a couple weeks ago and their podcast has gotten a little better. The New Normal does basically cover pop culture. They have a few different segments. I believe they even added like a advice segment that wasn't good yet, but of course they're new, so we're gonna give it some time. But I am also going to rank them on their present videos, the videos that have been published for human consumption. So consistency, since they're kind of new, the New Normal has an average consistency of 5 out of 10. I just really don't know what's gonna happen that episode other than Doboy being ignorant and that Yonci is saying something passive aggressive and Triune saying something that blows my mind. On the humor, I rank it a 3 because I don't remember ever laughing during one of their podcasts with them, at least. I have laughed at a few things they have said, but it was not on purpose. Chemistry, I think they have a relatively good chemistry, especially since they're both starting out. I rank that a 7 out of 10. They seem like cool dudes and lady that would, you know, have a kickback together. On relatability, which is why I wouldn't join the kickback, it's a 1 because I can't relate to any of them really. Doboy is just really messy and his opinions are always different from my own. Yonci has like a very Christian conservative background that makes me like get very antsy when it comes to LGBT news. And Triune seems honestly very smart and dedicated, which I'm not dedicated yet. And it's starting to sound like I have a little crush on him, but honestly, he's about to be my new Oprah. And I can't relate to Oprah. Finally, on a popularity standpoint, they do average a 2 out of 10 because, you know, they're building their fan base. They're still under 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. It's just a long haul, so we'll see how long they last and hopefully their popularity rises as they do. So basically, we have from top rated to lowest rated. Here's the Thing at 9.2 out of 10. On These Hoes and Damn Internet You Scary are tied at 7.8 out of 10. Zooming with the Homies comes in 4th at a 7 out of 10. And The New Normal is last with a 3.6 out of 10. For now. Of course, these are all my personal opinions, personal biases, personal rankings. My personal eyes saw the popularity and I personally decided how to measure it. So thanks for watching my video. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe, maybe a share. If you didn't like it, try another video, you know? Or if you didn't like it, make your own video, tag me in it, and I'll see if you can do it better. Bye.